Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another weekly recap. This is another recap that's going to be from the past 2 weeks, just because I'm trying my best out here to get these weekly recaps out, and I want to actually make sure I tie in some value as well. So that is why, sometimes I'm going to do 2 in 1. All right. And some weeks I'm going to do just one, but I don't have to explain myself. I'm explaining myself too much. But anyways, let's see. This week was a solid week. I was able to get in some people into my 4-week single leg strength challenge, which I'm really excited about. We're starting that on Monday, and I've never done anything like this before. And so I am pumped to just see how it goes. And I may or may not have plans to do another short-term program like this in October. I think I'm going to do one about running. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because more of these mini programs might be happening. So anyways, we have that. So I've been planning for that. And then let's see, I'm trying to think. Last week was not too eventful, just the usual business stuff. Oh, something else that I did start on last week behind the scenes is I began the process of revamping my whole course for coaches, Mobility Makeover. This was something that I ran twice, and I am revamping the whole thing, changing the structure a little bit. Well, actually a lot of it. I'm going through and editing the curriculum. I am shortening the time frame from 12 weeks to 9 weeks. Some of it's going to be self-paced, and we will have a few calls, but in the first 2 times I ran this program, I was doing a live teaching call every single week. And so taking that out, but I am keeping a few calls in the program because of doing live case studies and actually showing you how to implement what you're learning in real time. I believe that's really important. And that's one of the unique things about this course, is that I actually show you how to program for the problems that you find, mobility-wise, strength-wise, and I give you examples and feedback on it. So anyways, I'm basically revamping the course, all right, and I'm going to be submitting it for CEUs because that was another piece of feedback that I got. And so you probably don't know anything about that, but in order to submit it to these certifying bodies so that trainers can get CEUs for the course, it's a whole process. There are certain guidelines that have to be met in terms of how much material there is. There has to be a certain amount of quiz questions. There has to be laid out learning objectives and all these different things, honestly. And so it is a large project, and I have honestly resisted beginning this project because it just seemed like too much. But last week I was sick of my own shit, and it's you know what, I am just going to start this, because if I don't ever start it, it's not going to get done. So that feels good to have started that process. And if you're oh, when are you going to be running the program again? I don't really know. I'm hoping by Q2 of 2026. It honestly depends on how long the approval process takes for getting it approved for CEUs. That is going to determine kind of the timeline for officially relaunching it, because basically I have to get everything prepped, then submit it to the different certifying bodies, and then you basically wait. So I don't really know how long that approval time is going to take. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, it's Q2 of 2026 is when I launch it again. So if you're a coach who's like listening to this, following me along, was kind of like creeping on me when I was like launching the first 2 rounds, and you're like, when is she going to run it again? That's the update on the program. So if you are a coach and you want to make sure you're in the loop, I suggest getting on my email list, because I always like hear things first anyway. So we got that I've been working on. And then I've also been working on the update to the movement library. So working on that update to get in 50 new exercises into the library by the fall. I don't consider it to be fall yet right now. I feel like actually it is fall. No, it's not fall. It's still very hot right now. So yeah, that is something I've been working on. And that'll be like a more of a main focus for me for September, honestly, because I want the update to go out in October. And I'm also going to be doing a relaunch of the movement library. If you did not get it the first time around, with this update, this will be a good time to grab it, and I'm going to relaunch it. So, but it will be more expensive than the first time I launched it, because it has more stuff in it and it's very valuable. So I'm excited about that, but that's definitely going to be a project that I work a lot on in September. And let me think, what else do I have going on? That is kind of a lot between the challenge, revamping Mobility Makeover, getting the update ready for the movement library. And then we have a big trip coming in October. So, and then basically after that, it's like the holidays. And then the end of the year is like over. So at least that is how it kind of feels in my brain. I swear, like, time goes at like warp lightning speed when you have a business. So I don't know what it is about it, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, so I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much all my updates, guys. It was kind of like a word vomit. And that's my word vomit update over the past 2 weeks. What I've been working on, what things have been going on. And then the lesson I wanted to share with you, or like the value takeaway, is something that I am working on every single day. Trying to implement this and work on this is so just working with my brain and body instead of just like white knuckling through long, like my large to-do list basically. So like I have a really bad habit of like telling myself, okay, I'm not getting up from this chair till like these 10 items are done, for example. And what that can result in is like if I have like no brain breaks and I'm just like white knuckling through, I feel so depleted and drained and just like a hot garbage after doing that. And like I hate that I do that. It's a habit I developed several years ago. And so I have been trying to come out of that, like with a lot of help from this program that I'm in called HBA. Shout out Coach Kate. She has a membership. It's all about like nervous system regulation, basically, and learning how to work with your brain and body instead of against it. Basically, that's like the whole thing. And she like sends out these little mini trainings, whatever. So anyways, all of that to say, I'm trying to not be in that zone of like no breaks, white knuckling, feeling like shit at the end of the day. And instead, what I'm trying to do is I'm setting timers for tasks, and which I always do, but like paying attention to like how I feel after I complete each task. So for example, if I'm like, hey, I'm doing my client work right now, I'm going to answer all my client messages and I'm going to do whatever client check-ins I have to do in that block of time. All right, I'm done with that task. Checking in with my body. How does my brain and body feel right now? Do I feel really depleted or do I feel okay? And like I can do another task. And sometimes I'll feel okay and I move on to the next task. But if I'm like, dude, I felt really drained after that, I need a little bit of a break. I've been pausing and I'm like, okay, what does my body need? Do I need to go outside for a little bit of a walk? Am I hungry? Do I need a snack? Am I thirsty? And I'll like get out of my office and just like do something, or I'll like do the dishes or something. A little bit of a brain break, and then I'll like return back to the next task I have to do. And in the program that I was talking about, Kate, she always talks about this as like bouncing between your brain's networks, between like work and play. And what happens when you do that is you're actually more productive in your work blocks because you're not pushing past your limit. And when you're done with your, day, you feel drastically different. And I really noticed this yesterday, because I intentionally was doing this in the afternoon. Like I had some client calls in the morning and it was 2 p.m. and I was like, I already feel zapped. Like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do. But I was like, you know what? One thing at a time, going to check in with my body after each thing and like ask myself what I need. And I actually got all of my work done at a decent time. And guess what? At the end of the day, I did not feel like hot garbage. I was like, holy shit, this really works. I need to do this more often. Wow, imagine that, not ignoring how your body feels mentally during the day can really help. So anyways, for me, the hardest part about like doing that is taking the time to notice how my body is actually, in my mind, is actually feeling after I do each thing, and like not trying to pass any judgment on myself. If like if I do programming for 4 people and if I feel like I need a break after that, take the break, Ashley, and don't be like, okay, you're being a little bitch. You need to like finish the rest of your people like right now. No, just take the break. Then you return back and you finish the other half that you were going to do or whatever that is. And so just kind of removing that judgment and just going with those like breaks and bouncing back and forth. Something that I'm actively working on. And if you are somebody that also struggles with this type of thing, you should try it out because it really works. So that is something I am working through. And this especially works if you are like mentally just having a hard time, and like it can really help with that as well. Just like getting the work tasks done, even if you're like, oh my gosh, this is the last thing I want to do, right? So anyways, super proud of myself for that. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that's really interesting, like I should try that, you should try it and then let me know how it goes. And yeah, so that is all for this update. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back. I'm probably going to do my update early next week because my parents are coming to visit. So my weekly update might come out on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that, and talk to you next time.